You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Monday, January 27th, 2020. We are live today. We are not a rebroadcast. We're not a best of. Well, I'd like to be a best of somewhere down the road, but at the moment, we're just kind of take it as it comes here. Anyway, the show is open. We're live here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room ready to answer the phone when you call on him, and with your questions, opinions, observations, and so forth and so on. Now, before we get into the show here, a little bit about what my situation is in response to all the emails and postcards and letters in a bottle that I've been getting here. And if you're trying to watch on YouTube, you're probably getting audio only, and that's because I'm still not back in my own home with my own broadcast setup. I'm still here in this, for the moment, I'll call it a facility, and I'll clarify what that means here in a little tiny bit. But to suffice it to say, I'm still not back home here. But the doctors have finally figured out what's going on with me. It is thankfully non-contagious, but it is a neurological disorder that affects old people. It's kind of uncommon, and I forget exactly what they called it. It was polymyelitis annoyus or something like that. And it's incorrect to say that I've been in the hospital all this time, because I was only in the hospital for about a week, and the rest of the time I've been in what is basically an inpatient physical therapy clinic, literally learning how to walk all over again. So that's kind of where we are. And I thought I was getting close to getting back home, but going into our home earlier today with the PT person in attendance here, I was thinking, I self-identify as Spider-Man, and the spiders looked down from the roof and said, "No, you're not either." And I did a major face plant right in front of the PT lady, who took out her clipboard and checked off, "Not ready yet." So it may be as much as 2 weeks before I'm back in the home. But we've got the Slash Up working here. And even though you're not going to have video to see my handsome face, we're going to start doing the shows every day live from 3 to 6 p.m. Central Time. So that part is now out of the way here. So let's get into it. One of the kind of depressing things for me is I've kind of been out of it between physical therapy and medications and everything. And so I was out of it for 3-4 weeks, and coming on back and getting plugged back online was how little has really changed. I thought about if I'd been at my home setup, I was going to have some music playing, some calliope music, circus music, because the impeachment circus is still going on. And it's always still the same thing. Adam Schiff is out there screaming accusations without any supporting facts or witnesses. Just, you have to believe me. You have to believe me. Trump is evil. He's evil. We've got to get rid of him. And, of course, the rest of the Congress and pretty much the rest of America slowly tuning out. In fact, as of the last time they had this screed in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, half the galleries were empty. We're talking about an impeachment trial of a president of the United States of America. Only the third time it's happened in U.S. history. Would be the first time a president was actually removed from office by the Senate, and the galleries are half empty. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares. Now, the one thing that did happen tragically this last weekend, which has given the corporate media an excuse not to report on the debacle that is the Democratic efforts to keep this whole impeachment thing going, was the crash of a helicopter out in Calabasas, California, carrying Lakers basketball legend Kobe Bryant, who was 41 years old, and his daughter Gianna, who was 13. They were both killed along with 7 others. They were flying by helicopter to his Mamba Academy for practice, basketball practice, obviously. And authorities are looking into just why the helicopter crashed, because they're saying it really wasn't that foggy, and they're not exactly sure what happened. But the investigators are reviewing the records and the fog conditions and find out what happened. Now, I'm familiar with that part of California. It's not that hilly or mountainous. It's not that difficult to fly. So it could have been pilot error, could have been mechanical problem, but something definitely happened and brought the helicopter down. Now, you want to talk about just how incredibly crazy the corporate media gets, because sometimes they can be incredibly tacky. And I think a good example of that comes out of the Washington Post, where there was this journalist who just yesterday tweeted a link to a years-old story about Kobe Bryant being accused of rape just hours after his daughter was killed. He and his daughter were killed in the helicopter crash. Now, to their credit, the Washington Post has suspended this reporter. But I mean, come on, a sense of decorum here. You know, why is all of a sudden that relevant, other than somebody says, oh, it's another excuse to put a, bad man rapes poor innocent woman victim on the headlines again. Now, interesting little article. This one came out of Your Destination Now. And it's pointing out that if CNN and MSNBC used the 9 rules that Jim Lehrer left behind, they'd shut down tomorrow. And it isn't just Jim Lehrer. When I was a kid, and if you're my age when you were a kid, you probably understood there were implicit rules by which the journalists and the TV news and the newspapers and everything operated, including fairness, objectivity, who, what, where, when, why, and how. The idea of maintaining objectivity. And I mean, this only goes back as far as Edward R. Murrow, who got into an argument with the CBS president of TV News, saying, sometimes there aren't there aren't 2 equal sides to a story. And CBS at that point had a policy. We present both sides of a story, both sets of claims with equal balance. That way we can't get into trouble and we can't get sued. Far cry from how things have evolved to today, where media has become a very much one-sided, leftist-guided, Democratic attack machine on the GOP and anybody who wants to get out there and speak truth to power. So, but people are picking up on it. And it's one of the reasons why people really aren't paying that much attention to the corporate media anymore. All righty, so getting on back to this whole impeachment situation, and apparently a new scandal is emerging from Schiff and the House Democrats. Apparently, they spent nearly 24 hours last week repeatedly hyping testimony from 17 witnesses interviewed during the House's impeachment inquiry, none of whom had firsthand knowledge of any actual criminal conduct by President Trump. And there has to be a crime. You can't have impeachment without an actual committed crime. Just not liking the guy is not enough. But here's where it gets interesting, because apparently there was an 18th witness who actually had exculpatory information about Trump, and Schiff hid that from Trump's lawyers. Now, under the rules of discovery, that's a tacky no-no. They can take away your fruit salad at the next congressional lunch counter. But it seems like they were in the business of filtering the information even before it got to the House floor, let alone the Senate. So, and now, of course, we have Bolton's new book, which is coming out. John Bolton has this book. It's out there for sale. Book deal, book deal, book deal. And apparently this Bolton book manuscript accuses Trump of tying the Ukraine aid to the Biden investigations. Mind you, it's just another accusation. And this thing has been teased into the public by a partial leak of the manuscript by no less than the New York Times. So that's now out there so the Democrats can say, see, John Bolton's new book is going to make the case for us. So now it's a scream for, we need more witnesses. And here's where it's tricky. The Democrats want to call in just their witnesses against Trump while denying the GOP any opportunity to bring in witnesses in Trump's favor or witnesses to attack those who are attacking Donald Trump. Now, Lindsey Graham is promising to call in Hunter Biden to testify before the Senate. And apparently, Senator Hawley has drafted a motion to subpoena Adam Schiff, the whistleblower, and all of the Bidens to testify. That would include impeachment manager Representative Adam Schiff, ICIG manager Michael Atkinson, Eric Claramella, Hunter Biden, and Joe Biden to testify. Hey, fair is fair. Now, mind you, the way this is originally set up, we're supposed to be past the point of witnesses testifying. That was supposed to happen over in the House, but they failed to make their case. So now they're trying to hijack the Senate in order to retry and bring forth new witnesses, new liars, let's just call it what it is, to attack the president with. Now, CNN's legal analyst is admitting that, at least in the court of public opinion, the president is winning the impeachment trial. Democrats have destroyed their own credibility, and one wonders why they are persisting with this, but we're going to have a theory about that. Again, story that's coming out of Hideout Now. Impeachment is so boring the gallery was half empty. Apparently people were leaving so rapidly they left behind a bunch of mittens, which in this winter is kind of a dangerous thing to do. Okay, so let's kind of sum up what's going on here. The Schiff coup, cabal, corruption front and center during the Senate trial. Everybody knows what's going on. Judicial Watch is back in court now to expose Schiff's conspiracy plus the crimes of FISA. And here's where it gets interesting. The Department of Justice is now disavowing the Spygate warrants targeting Trump. The Department of Justice is now saying those warrants were invalid. This is all coming apart. So why, oh why, oh why are they still persisting in flogging this dead horse? Well, Democrat House impeachment manager Representative Zoe Lofgren admits the impeachment is all about the 2020 election. And basically admitted this during an appearance on CNN's State of the Union. And back when this all started, more than a year ago, now I say, the Democrats can't possibly think they're going to drag this out into the 2020 elections, but it looks like they've succeeded. The first primaries are mere weeks away. We'll see what happens in those early primaries. If the impeachment issue blows hot or cold for the Democrats, if it blows cold, I'll bet the impeachment will just vanish like overnight from the corporate media, and they'll be out to something else like, Trump is incompetent, 25th Amendment, blah, 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 blah. Now, interestingly enough, and one possible early indicator of where the polls are going to be heading, where the primaries are going to be heading, a new batch of polls have really bad news for former Vice President Joe Biden and his campaign for 2020. Apparently, Bernie Sanders is surging into the lead. So we'll see what happens there. Now, let's talk about Hillary Clinton, who at this point, she's going to find some way to step in. Brokered convention. She's going to volunteer to step forward and save the Democratic Party, who have no clear front runners other than Bernie Sanders. So somebody did a biography of her called simply Hillary. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival this weekend. Hillary hit the red carpet in a sporty new pantsuit and then quietly walked out of the film before it even started. Which means either it's a really bad film, and I certainly have no intention of seeing it, or she already knows what's in it because it was made to her talent, made to her direction here. The other thing that's going on is Hillary Clinton has, Michelle Obama joining Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama have won a Grammy for merely reading their own book onto a DVD. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, go Tulsi. Still a big fan of hers, even though she's not my representative anymore, because she's still in Hawaii and I'm here in Indiana. And she has filed a lawsuit against Hillary Clinton for defamation, declaring obvious malicious intent over Hillary Clinton's Russian asset smear, saying it is clear election meddling. that Hillary had no basis for saying that Tulsi is a Russian asset. And of course, in the system, I don't know how far Tulsi's going to get with this, but I'm glad she's at least making the effort here. Now, let's talk a little bit about Jeffrey Epstein, the name that will never, ever go away. Back when that whole thing was happening and that very strange death in prison, supposedly by hanging himself on his knees or something like that. And I said, if there's a cover-up, one thing that we can count on is that people who were in charge get promoted soon after. And I pointed out here how in the John F. Kennedy assassination, the officer in charge of security for the president eventually became chief of police of Dallas, while the officer, Ray Vaughn, who was accused of allowing Jack Ruby into the basement of the police department to shoot Lee Oswald, was eventually made chief of police of Midlothian, Texas. Well, it's already happened because the warden who was in charge of that prison cell where Jeff Epstein died has been promoted to a cushy club-fed job. So, yeah, it's pretty obvious what's going on. All right, let's talk a little bit about the international news here, because the Iraqis are definitely tired of the U.S. forces being there. They're literally marching in massive numbers in Baghdad, all across Iraq, in the millions, it's being estimated, basically saying it's time for the U.S. troops to go home. Yankee, go home. Boy, have we heard that one before. And apparently, starting on Friday, huge crowds of men, women, and children of all ages converged on the Jidraya neighborhood near Baghdad University. And they're all carrying banners and chanting slogans calling for the U.S. to get out, saying, "Get out, occupier," others saying, "Yes to sovereignty." Now, as you know, there's the so-called green zone inside Baghdad, which is heavily fortified. It's where the new, very super large embassy was hit. And every once in a while, mortars and rockets and grenades will get tossed over the fence into it. It got a little bit more serious here because yesterday 3 rockets hit the U.S. Embassy dead on. Direct hits. And this is a dangerous escalation in the spree of rocket attacks in recent months that targeted the embassy or Iraq military bases where American troops are deployed. So the people of Iraq do not want the Americans there. The government of Iraq does not want the Americans there. Why are we still there? Why are we still pouring our money and the blood of our children into Iraq? Somebody come up with a good explanation for that one. Now, the United States is going to start deploying anti-missile systems in Iraq, again, without the permission of the government. And apparently on January 8th, there was an Iranian ballistic missile attack on the Ain al-Assad air base in Iraq. 8 people were airlifted to a medical facility in Germany for possible traumatic brain injuries, which I got a confirmation report. We're talking serious, serious head injuries. And Trump downplayed the say, well, yeah, they've got some headaches. To Donald Trump, having a portion of your skull and brain blasted out on one side, that's a headache. John F. Kennedy died of a headache. Donald. And he is either totally sociopathic or he's just really out of touch with what's going on. All right, we're going to take a phone call. Well, actually, no, we're coming up on a commercial break. But after the commercial break, we have a phone call waiting on the line here. Iran's Fars news agency says its website is blocked due to recent U.S. sanctions and saying that the Treasury Department introduced sanctions against the country. According to Fars, an international provider sent in an email saying that the reason for blocking the website was the order by the OFAC and the agency's inclusion into a specially designated nationals list. At the same time, the agency reported that its website with the .com domain was blocked. So when we start seeing Fars News, Press TV, and Press TV in English all blocked at the same time, it means the war with Iran is on. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. Back with a phone call after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas. Yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are loading up, so let's go to Kyle in Berlin. Aloha, Kyle. Welcome to the show. Wie geht's es Ihnen, and what's on your mind?
Good, danke. Yes, I'm very well, Mike. I trust your health is getting back now, is it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, very good. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm a first-time caller. I've been listening for perhaps 4 or 5 years, but I just wanted to express my well wishes. I have perhaps a couple of topics I'd like to mention and then get your thoughts on them, if I may. The first one is Brexit and Boris Johnson. Now, I see Johnson as effectively an opportunist, also known as a normal politician, who seemed to be the only one willing to take over the poison chalice of the premiership in the UK. He obtained a very strong mandate, that's for sure, in the election. So well done on that account. But, I keep thinking that he's most probably simply another yes man. And I'm not overly optimistic of anything less than incompetence by design in the next couple of years. What say you, Mike?
Well, we're going to start finding out what the reality is here in just another couple of weeks when the Brexit is supposed to hit its deadline. I don't know. It's kind of hard. We keep looking at somebody and say, I think this is the real deal here. We had a lot of hopes, of course, for Donald Trump. We have a lot of hopes for Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
We had a lot of hopes for Boris Johnson. We do find ourselves continually disappointed. Part of the problem is, however well-intentioned anybody may be when entering the world of politics, the world of politics very quickly moves to corral and control them and bring them in line with whatever the consensus agenda happens to be right now. And right now, as far as Europe and Great Britain is concerned, the consensus agenda is keep it all glued together. We're pushing to this new world order, one world government. And if Britain succeeds in breaking away from the EU, it'll probably be followed by Germany and France and a bunch of others. And that major stepping stone that was built toward the one world government will shatter. And they're already hurrying to try and get the North American Union up and running to sort of take its place. But there are literally, indeed, titanic political forces at work. And Boris Johnson so far appears to have done an admirable job of standing up to it.
Yeah, in the UK, when somebody appears like that, well, it tends to be talking about a woman, but we would say a fur coat and no knickers. It appears to be the right thing at the right time, and it looks good. But on closer inspection, nothing there at all. And you also mentioned my second point, which was Germany. Now, I live in Berlin, and I have for a couple of years, and I must tell you, I'm not a crazy right-wing or a left-wing loony. I consider myself a libertarian. The majority of people I talk to here have such a high level of indoctrination, and that's no inference to the 1940s, by the way, that they can never imagine Germany outside Europe. And I say, look, why should you keep on bailing out other European countries and have your own people suffer? But there's just such a brainwashing going on that, people will say, well, what's wrong with you? Are you racist? Why are you speaking like that? Perhaps you should pay closer attention to what's going at home and help your own people before you allow all this flood of migration and continually bailing out people. But I must say one last thing. The Germans got the best deal, because where is the European Central Bank? In Frankfurt, and that's where the power is.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you need to understand that a lot of the people who are out there being very vocal about you're being racist, or, why not have open integration? They're not ordinary citizens. They're part of a covert grassroots propaganda network that is probably tied in very much with other propaganda goals as well. So you need to be very, very careful. Here in the U.S., they call it grassroots lobbying, and it's a very real concern. It's a very real business where people go on out pretending to just be ordinary folk, pushing the agenda of whatever their corporate masters want. And I got to see them in action close up in the Pacific Northwest when they were talking about clear-cutting the old-growth forests. And we've seen them all over, pushing, again, the open borders agenda and screaming racism, which is ridiculous because illegal, as in illegal alien, is not a race.
No, not yet anyway. Not yet.
Well, all right, well, listen, Kyle.
And very glad you're back to health. Good man. Cheers.
Well, I'm on my way. I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely on my way. Kyle, we got to let you go. We got to take a break for commercials. More callers waiting on the line when we get back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
How healthy are your arteries? Deteriorating circulation has a number of early warning signs. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, fingers and or toes often go cold. Arms and or legs often go to sleep. Sharp diagonal crease in the earlobe. Short walks cause cramping or pains in legs. Memory is not as good as it used to be. Ankles swell late in the day. Chest pain after physical exercise or emotional stress. If you experience even one of these symptoms, your circulatory system is crying out for attention. Extendivite is a natural solution to help improve your overall health. Extendivite is not your average heart tonic. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com or find us on Amazon.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AROutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AROutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. The phone lines are loading up, and we're going to go to Dave in Delaware. Aloha, Dave. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, Mike? How you doing?
Doing fine.
First time caller, long time listener. Hey, I wanted to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are you there? Yeah. What did you make?
Yeah,
did you see the CIA plane? Did you see the CIA plane that got shot down in Afghanistan? There was a plane that was shot down in Afghanistan. And then on the nose
there seems to be a very long delay
like
on this conversation. Yeah, there seems to be a very long delay on this conversation, which is why it sounds so stilted. But yes, I heard about this airplane. The Taliban is saying they shot it down. The U.S. is only admitting that the plane carrying fewer than 10 people has crashed. But to me, it sounds like the Taliban scored a hit on this aircraft, and the U.S. is trying to basically, as usual, pretend it's no big deal.
Well, yeah, I'm saying whatever happened, but they were showing how on the front of the nose cone, it said like 11-9, like 9/11 backwards, almost like they're putting it in our face, you know, like it's like, I don't know. You didn't see that?
I would chalk that one up to coincidence. A little too subtle for most Americans.
Well, I'm saying, because most Americans are stupid. It's like, nah. Okay, Mike. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing all right. You're all right. I know you're against the military-industrial complex and the medical-industrial complex. Hopefully you're not taking all that stuff that they're trying to give you again, Mike, because that's what screwed you up last time.
No. Unfortunately, I'm in a situation of having to compromise some of my views on that, because without the stuff that they have to offer me, I probably wouldn't be here right now. And again, I don't want to go into the fine details because, what exotic disease I picked up on that last trip to Thailand is nobody's business but my own. So anyway, Dave, thanks a lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go. And we're going to switch over to, oh my goodness, we lost a bunch of people. Our lines are now open, 800-313-9443, and back to the international news. Okay, over in Libya, things got just a little more scary in terms of the potential for mass civilian death. General Khalifa Haftar's Libyan National Army has threatened to shoot down civilian planes after 2 days ago declaring a no-fly zone over Tripoli following increased Turkish intervention. The BBC reports the unambiguous and shocking declaration as follows. General Haftar's spokesman, Ahmed El-Mesmari, said in a statement that any military or civilian aircraft, regardless of its affiliation, flying over the capital will be destroyed. Looks like, no gray area in that one. Basically saying, stay away. Now, getting on back to what Dave was talking about, the Taliban claimed that they shot down this U.S. military plane in Afghanistan, killing all on board. The U.S. Air Force confirms they've lost a plane. It's crashed, cause unknown. Well, Air Force, just call up the Taliban. They'll tell you the cause. No big mystery there. All right, back to the phones here. Paul in Montana. Aloha, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, you're like a renaissance. Mr. Rivero, last night, Rents.com, looking at an article by Yoshi Sumatsu, Reader's Digest version, 2003, the SARS. But there's a connection between the SARS and the contravirus, maybe. Mr. Shimazu says that the hog feces that they've been getting from the hogs and feeding to the fish farmers on the river has recombined with God only knows what else, and now we're having this contravirus, which is very, very similar to SARS.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus, which is similar to SARS, except for a 29 point deletion that somehow recombined with something else. Have you seen the article? What do you think? And I'm listening.
I've seen. Thanks an awful lot. I've seen several articles about the coronavirus. Now, there's the cynic in me is saying this is just another big puff story to get you to go on out and buy vaccines you don't need. We saw that back in 2009 with when pigs fly flu came on out. But on the other hand, there's a real danger here that the way agricultural and biological products are being handled does create ideal conditions for crossover events in viruses. And except for the demonization of bloggers, there's a movie out called Contagion, which was funded out of the Middle East, amazingly enough. But it's a very, very good movie, very well made. It moves along very, very rapidly, and it's got some good science behind it. So anyway, let's see, I'm getting some news from the control room that apparently Bill Gates is nose deep in corona. Well, he's nose deep in every virus that's out there, and vaccines. He's out there. He wants to depopulate the world using vaccines. And apparently people are already patenting that virus, which is amazing because it's rather new. In fact, the most recent manifestation of it in Malaysia is a mutation. So somebody's probably down there running a patent on that, because the reason for patenting a virus is very simple. any products related to that virus now have to pay royalties to the holder of the patent, whether it is a blood test, whether it is a vaccination, whether it's a cure. Part of that money will go to the holder of the patent on the vaccine. And I think one of the worst mistakes the legal system ever made was to allow for the patenting of life forms. Now, originally the idea was that synthetic life forms could be patented and should be patented, but that's now been expanded to any newly emergent life form. Grab it, take it apart genetically, throw a patent on it, and it's yours to play with from then on. I'm not sure I agree with that one. Okay, let's see. That's it. Our phone lines are open again. Getting back to the international news, Turkey is demanding that Greece demilitarize 16 Aegean islands amid the gas drilling dispute. That situation seems to be heating up quite a bit. We're burning up all this oil on all these wars all over the planet. So what do we do as we start running out of oil? We start declaring war on other countries to fight them for their oil so we can burn that up, declaring more war. And you see how the cycle really goes. Just think of all the oil and gas, not to mention global warming, that could be saved by calling off all these ridiculous wars. Really. So, Turkish Defense Minister Hulusi Akar has formally requested Greece to remove armed forces and weaponry from 16 Aegean islands near Turkey. And it's kind of arrogant, given that it's Turkey that's been provocatively sending warships and military jets to accompany illegal gas drilling in the area, something lately condemned by the European Union. Now, speaking to troops at one of the outposts in Syria, General McKenzie said the U.S. troops are going to be here for a while, that the U.S. has made a commitment, which includes partnering with the Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces and fighting against ISIS. Well, they're not going to fight against ISIS because ISIS works covertly for the U.S. CIA and so forth. And as far as the Syrian Democratic Forces, they're mostly not Syrian to begin with. Fewer than 5% of the Syrian Democratic Forces are actually Syrians. The rest are all mercenaries. They're just trying to keep that war going, even though we are clearly not winning in that war any more than we're not winning in Afghanistan. Over in Idaho, Lieutenant Governor Janice McLeish came on out with an article saying it's time for Congress to end the undeclared wars and bring the troops home. And Janice starts with George Washington, saying it is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliance with any portion of the foreign world. This was embedded in his foreign entanglement speech. Jefferson was explicit: peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I hope you do as well. President Monroe formalized that policy. The Monroe Doctrine's first point stated the U.S. would not interfere in the internal affairs or wars of other nations. Section 8 of the Constitution makes it clear only Congress shall have the power to declare war. So in other words, all of these war hawks that we have here, up to and including President Trump, they represent a rogue, unconstitutional government operating within the halls of our nation's capital. Okay, over at Davos, President Donald Trump approached Imran Khan even before Khan had started talking. They were in Switzerland. It was a little side meeting, volunteering the U.S.'s help on the Kashmir issue and basically getting ready to stick the U.S. nose into Pakistan and India's affairs. Now, Khan said it was the U.S. which will be able to help resolve the issue and said that he'd pinned his hopes on the U.S. president. Well, that's a little dangerous because both India and Pakistan are, in fact, nuclear times. Now, this is the fourth time Trump has made his offer to come on in and mediate. Each time India has rejected his proposal. Yeah, I wonder why that might be here. Okay, Israel's major political blocs are emphasizing plans to annex parts of the West Bank. So that is still moving forward. And Posturing for the next round of elections, Israel's two major candidates, Netanyahu and Benny Gantz, are both taking up plans to annex pieces of the occupied West Bank if elected. It seems no matter who wins the vote, some annexations will happen. So Palestinians living in those sections of the West Bank better start packing now. Now, Gantz is pushing the idea of annexing the Jordan Valley, the southern part of the West Bank. He says it is the eastern defensive barrier in any future conflict. The Jordan Valley borders Jordan, a nation nominally on good terms with Israel. Netanyahu also wants to annex the Jordan Valley and much more. He says if he's elected, he will annex all settlements in the West Bank without exception. This would be a large portion of the occupied West Bank. Netanyahu has also tried to portray Gantz as a left-wing leader for not wanting to annex more of the West Bank. And he accused Arab members of parliament of having stopped Gantz from supporting an immediate annexation of the Jordan Valley. So it's getting a little bit tense over there in Israel's politics here. Now, Trump is getting ready to announce his great Israel peace plan ahead of the visit from Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's already saying up front, you know, the Palestinians probably are not going to like this very much. But say, trust us, it will be good for them. And yes, we're going to take away a lot of their land and a lot of their rights and a lot of what remains of their autonomy and everything. But in the long run, it will be good for them because Israel will take just such really good care of them. So Trump is out there trying to pre-sell this thing, saying it's a plan that really could work. No, Donald, I don't think so. I think you should have minded your own business on this one. All right, so let's talk about the economic news. Stock market today was... Well, it was down for the most part. It's been down this whole week, and a lot of people are saying it's a combination of the coronavirus outbreak. It's a combination of nobody knows where this impeachment circus is going to go. But this week, we are due some earnings reports from major corporations. If they do not produce a miracle, people are predicting a correction. So there we are. All right, let's talk about out in California. And apparently, homeowners in the San Francisco Bay Area are furious at being charged $20,000 to clean up a former homeless camp in a Castro Valley ravine. And apparently, Alameda County charged a homeowners association for the cleanup costs after belatedly realizing it was on the HOA's property. So now the association is billing each homeowner $300 to cover the fee for cleaning up San Lorenzo Creek. Personally, I don't think $300 per homeowner is that much, but it does illustrate the fact that everybody's solution to the homeless problem is to ship the homeless someplace else, then clean it up to make it look like it never happened. And that's not an end solution. Remember Solyndra? One of Obama's supported solar companies went out of business. Well, another one has bitten the dust, taken the dirt nap. DC Solar owners plead guilty to the largest Ponzi scheme in Eastern California history, and they stole millions from individuals, companies, and the U.S. government. It was just scam after scam after scam. Okay. Now, America has launched a last-ditch attempt to stop Boris Johnson giving the green light for Huawei to help build Britain's 5G network. And U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who will fly to Britain this week, said Britain faced a momentous decision. And piling on the pressure, he warned that Tory Member of Parliament Tom Tugendhat was right to say that only nations able to protect their data will be sovereign. Well, that's kind of a weird little comment to make here, because the reason the United States is so opposed to Huawei is Huawei will not plug into the NSA's data theft system. So if you go with any Western-produced 5G system, you're not going to be sovereign because your data will not be, in fact, protected. Case of psychological projection there. But that's the real reason. They don't want 5G to come in unless it's American-made 5G, and America's way behind the line. And China's way ahead. That's why you see 5G getting bashed so much all over the internet. 5G will give you warts. 5G will do this. 5G will do that. All righty. Now, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is going to boost the average debt maturity. Ultra-long bonds on ice. They're still out there trying to do some kind of game to save the economy, or at least make it look like it's being saved until after the election end of this year. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. 800-313-9443.
TalkRight, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. TalkRight makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download TalkRight today from Google Play or the App Store.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
How would you like to earn an extra $10,000 or more a month from the comfort of your home? We show you how to win with a home-based business opportunity. This could be one of the best financial decisions you ever make. Work from home, full-time or part-time. Plus, you'll never have to talk to anyone. Our professional sales team closes all your sales for you, and you keep 70% of all the sales made. You could be earning money while you're sleeping, shopping, working out, wherever you are, day or night. Our system goes to work for you. You can make a great income without any special computer skills or sales training. Plus, you get paid fast, within just 24 to 48 hours after our professional sales team closes a sale for you. Let us help you eliminate your financial concerns. You could be earning enough money to pay off debt, buy a house, a car, or whatever the case may be. We've got you covered. If you'd like to add an extra $10,000 or more a month to your portfolio, and you would like to know exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, go now to www.getstartedwithus.com. That's www.getstartedwithus.com. Again, that's www.getstartedwithus.com.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. By Christine. Great for heart palpitations. By Anne. Before I started using this product, every afternoon, my ankles and my hands would be swollen. That doesn't happen anymore. So if that part of their advertising is true, I have to assume that the rest of it is also. Not to mention that when I had my yearly blood test, only a few weeks after beginning to use this product, my cholesterol had dropped over 30 points. I'm going to continue to take it. By Croc. I love this product. It really works. By Brad. Works great, thank you. Tell us your story. Get your Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting...
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And under the category of It's About Blankety Blank Time. And apparently Immigration and Customs Enforcement is now threatening sanctuary city officials with jail time for refusing to comply with immigration law. Why did it take so long for this to happen. This should have happened right at the beginning when these officials got up and said, I am defying U.S. Code Title 8, and I'm going to allow the illegal immigrants to flood into my constituency here and commit crimes and rapes and muggings and all this other stuff. And by golly, because I'm a believer in the New World Order, they should have been locking these people up from day one. But at least right now, and at this point, it's a threat. They haven't actually locked anybody up yet, but I would like to see that start happening, because they're literally bartering away the country that Americans built generation after generation after generation after generation in exchange for votes. That's literally what's going on, and it's happening this year during the primary season, during the general election in November. And so let's see here. Now, Selma Hayek, she's an actress, very well known. She's from Mexico. And apparently she got herself into a little bit of hot water, extolling the virtues of this controversial novel about Mexican women, or a Mexican woman. And it turned out she hadn't actually read the book. And she got called out on it. She gave an effusive, appreciative apology for setting her straight, apparently concerned that once you anger the leftist mob, that you could be crushed or canceled. And yeah, you can. Now, this one's kind of hard to analyze, because on the one hand, I think this race baiting that we're seeing to try and keep us all divided and facing each other and sneering at each other, making stink face at each other, I think that's a bad thing. And I don't think people should be hopping on that bandwagon for that moment of fame. On the other hand, I'm opposed to these crowds that will get upset over something that a celebrity, for example, says in all honesty. And remember, they're celebrities. It's not like they're really in charge of our lives or anything. And then they'll go on out and say, take them off TV, destroy their show. We can't have them out there. That's real brown shirt thinking. That's real book-burning thinking. All righty, over in France, as you know, the Yellow Vest protests are continuing. It's been more than a year now. And France has now officially banned this special grenade, the GLIF-4, which is acquired a nasty reputation for maiming the rioters. And France has now banned them. Interestingly enough, they stopped manufacturing these things back in 2014. It's just they had a warehouse full of them. All right, we're going to take a break here now for station identification. We'll be back with hour number 2 after these few words.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store. or call us.
800-724-2719 extension 3. 800-724-2719 extension 3.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And again, this is a live broadcast. It's not a best of. It's not a tape. We are definitely live and online here. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you're probably looking at a little green card, and it has to do with the fact that the location from where I am sending this broadcast has very limited bandwidth, and it's causing us the usual problems. And unfortunately, I'm not yet able to return to my home where I have my proper broadcast rig set up there. So let's get into it here. We were talking in the last hour about political correctness, about everybody out there just screaming and whining and crying and give me what I want. And it seems like politics and political correctness have just infused themselves into our lives to what I would consider to be a very unhealthy degree. And by way of example, we mentioned earlier how Michelle Obama won her Grammy for reading her book into a microphone, joining such luminaries of literature as Hillary Clinton and Al Gore and Barack Obama, who all got Grammys for reading their supposedly self-authored books into a microphone. But apparently Taylor Swift, who's multi-platinum, and now a high-profile political activist, she canned a planned but unannounced performance at Sunday night's Grammy Awards, apparently in response to allegations that the Recording Academy, which runs the Grammy Awards, was engaged in fixing the nominations process and tolerated a culture of sexual harassment and discrimination against female employees. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. People are going to keep on hearing all this stuff about sexual harassment, discrimination. It's going to blur together. And they're going to go back to watching the show, and it's just not going to matter to them in the long run. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it's going to happen. Now, as far as what Taylor Swift is saying about the Recording Academy, I've had very little contact with the Recording Academy, but I have had contact with Screen Actors Guild, the Motion Picture Producers Association, and so forth. And I do know that at least in regards to fixing the nominations, that does happen, because it happened to us on the film Stargate, where the so-called Blue Ribbon Committee took the nomination away from us and gave it to Speed. It's all due to politics and who could make the most money off of winning the award. So that does happen. And like I said, when I worked in Hollywood, I saw a lot of what today would be considered sexual harassment. But on the other hand, back then, you know, the girls were trying to invite it because they wanted the attention, because they knew that was the key to advancement. So anyway. Alrighty, over this last weekend, starting on Friday, there was this massive March for Life in Washington, D.C., and somebody put up a time-lapse video showing this massive, massive crowd that poured into the nation's capital starting on Friday. And yeah, people are getting very, very strong emotions about this whole abortion issue. And again, the Democrats are going to make it an issue for the 2020 election. And it is a complicated issue, and a lot of it is tied up with belief systems rather than scientific fact. You know, the belief that humans are human beings either from the moment of conception or not until the moment of birth. And I don't think anybody can say for certain. All I know is it's a potential human being. They have as much right to life as anybody else claims that title. Now, I understand and concede there are certain circumstances under which abortion is medically necessary. What I object to is this idea of abortion being used as, you know, the week after birth control by women who don't want to take responsibility for their sexuality and their fertility, and they go out and they have a good time and they get pregnant and they say, well, it's just a blob of protoplasm and I'm going to throw it down the toilet. I have a real problem with that. And I don't expect everybody to agree with me on that particular issue, but that's just the way I feel about it, and I'm sticking with it. All right, so let's talk about the coronavirus, because a lot of people are saying this could be potentially very, very serious. On the other hand, it may just be another big PR splash to get us to run on out and buy a whole bunch of vaccinations we don't need. Remember back in the 2009 when the pigs fly flu, and they were selling these vaccines. Most of them wound up having to be destroyed after their X dates had gone by because they were never used. So coronavirus has a 15% fatality rate. It's an 83% infection rate for all those exposed. And this is all coming out of a medical journal early study. Now, what makes this a really dangerous virus is coronavirus spreads before symptoms show. In other words, there could be a person in front of you who looks perfectly healthy, seems perfectly healthy, they think they're perfectly healthy, they could even still be spreading the disease. You are infectious before you are symptomatic. That's a very, very dangerous combination. Now, the United States has started evacuating American citizens from the city of Wuhan, which is the center of the coronavirus outbreak. We'll be talking about Wuhan a little bit later on. And China has dumped considerable resources into containing the outbreak, but experts are predicting cases could still soar above 200,000 in less than 2 weeks. It's spreading that fast. Down in Malaysia, they've had their 4th case of coronavirus. This one is a mutated version. So it's mutating in the wild. Nobody knows what the R-naught factor is on the mutated version. The 15% fatality and 80% infection rates are all from an early study, presumably of an earlier, more stable genome. Now, again, in nature, all pathogens want to evolve to, we're fine. All pathogens want to evolve to a condition of coexisting with their hosts. The most successful pathogens evolve to be less and less disease-causing. That's why when measles first emerged, it was like equivalent to the Black Death and the Black Plague. Today, it's considered a childhood annoyance. There's always the possibility that a virus that's mutating that rapidly could mutate into a form that simply wipes the slate clean, and it doesn't have time to selectively start promoting less and less disease-causing forms. Now, a lot of people are out there buying what are called these N95 masks. And as it turns out, again, people are going to make money off of this whole thing. But they're saying the N95 masks are giving people a false sense of protection because a doctor in China is now warning that he contracted coronavirus by failing to wear a full face mask because the coronavirus can enter the body through the eyes. Nasty, nasty stuff. Another article, this one is coming out of CuzBlue.com. Reported coronavirus cases in China massively undercounted due to shortage of diagnostic kits and layers of bureaucracy. Now, there are 10 cases of Wuhan virus now in California alone. Just before we went to air, I was watching on the news channel, and they were saying 5 cases in the U.S. as a whole. Well, obviously, that number is now obsolete. And if it's in California, it's probably also in Hawaii as well. So Claire and I got out in time. Now, here is kind of an interesting thing here. Okay, one of our callers earlier on was saying there may be a link between coronavirus and SARS. They're certainly behaving very, very similarly. And SARS spread to about 40 countries, but the infections in most countries were few and deaths almost zero, and it was almost exclusively Chinese who were infected. Those in Hong Kong most seriously, with mainland China suffering little by comparison. And that seems to be the case with this new virus in that most of the infected persons so far are Chinese. Now, there are infections appearing in Thailand and here in the United States of America, but at least as of the writing of this article, they were all Chinese who'd been to Wuhan. There have been no cases so far of infected Caucasians. By the way, that's not what I have either. So, all right. And like I said, it's kind of a hard call to make because we know that a lot of these scare stories about viruses are there to market product. And but the possibility could happen that, yeah, somebody makes a mistake. Now, what's really interesting is that in all of China, there's only one BSL-4 laboratory. And by that, I mean Biological Safety Level 4. Biological labs come in 4 different levels, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 4 being the most serious, where the most dangerous pathogens are contained. China's BSL-4 lab is located in the city of Wuhan, from which this outbreak has occurred, which raises the possibility that somebody dropped a test tube, made a mistake somewhere, or that given how SARS ripped through Hong Kong but not mainland China, possibly a biological weapon. Meanwhile, China has banned all wildlife trade because of the virus outbreak being linked to agricultural producers. And wild animals consumed for food are believed to be the source of the outbreak. Well, maybe, maybe not. They said that about HIV. So if you are a gourmet and you favor Chinese bats and snakes, it may be a while before you can get any of them anymore. And as if that wasn't enough to worry about, down in Brazil, there's another virus, Brazilian hemorrhagic fever. And it's called arenavirus. And the last confirmed case was more than 20 years ago, but it's reemerged in Sao Paulo. And it's supposed to be extremely rare and highly lethal. Treatment is according to the patient's clinical conditions and symptoms. In other words, you're just taking care of the symptoms because they can't do anything else. Now, we talked about this a long time ago where they came out with the shingles vaccine. Did you have chickenpox when you were young? If so, the shingles vaccine is already inside you and could activate at any time. And 1/3 of people who had the measles will get the shingles. And they were selling the shingles vaccine, including Zostavax by Merck. And here's where it gets rather interesting because it turns out that studies have shown that Zostavax is actually causing far more problems than good. And as a result, Merck and Zostavax are in hot water. There are at least 80 deaths tied to the Zostavax vaccine that have been reported to the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, with over 100,000 reports of other adverse side effects, including that people given the Zostavax vaccine immediately come down with the shingles. Interesting. All right, well, this being a campaign year, the Democrats are out there with their favorite villain, the gun. Got to get rid of the guns. Guns are bad. They're not. People are bad. People are good. Now, if you can come up with a way to have the good people have guns and the bad people not have guns, I'm with you. This idea of taking all guns away from all people is ridiculous because the bad people, being bad people, will be able to still get guns. These days, in the era of 3D printing, you can make them very easily. Okay, so anyway, Democrats in Virginia are still out there pushing their new gun laws, and the more they're out there screaming about it, the more it's obvious they know nothing about either guns or the Second Amendment. Apparently, their latest argument is out there saying that a pistol grip represents a weapon of war. That if there is a pistol grip on your rifle, that it is obviously set up to be a weapon of war. No, it isn't. It's set up to be more accurate. I had a pistol grip on one of my black powder rifles. Not exactly a weapon of war, at least not in this century. It's one of the things that I think is the doom of our political system, is how politicians really don't know what they're talking about in a lot of cases. Whether it's the realities of immigration and economics, and certainly about human-caused global warming, and certainly about the firearms. It's just a cause that they can unite the party around and try and garner votes from you, the suckers, who they hope don't know any more about firearms and this Constitution than they themselves do. Sometimes the hypocrisy, though, can be absolutely alarming. Apparently, Nancy Pelosi has her special impeachment pens that she's been handing out. They're shaped like bullets. So guns are good for us in the political class, but bad for you ordinary people. You don't want guns, really. The Democrats are probably going to hire this professional hypnotist, come on the TV set, swing the watch or whatever it is they do and say, you don't like guns, you don't like guns. That's the reason for these drills in the schools, where they'll send in all these guys in costumes with flashbang grenades and everything unannounced. It's to traumatize the kids and have that emotional trauma linked to guns. So they'll go into a store where guns are being sold and they'll say, oh no, I don't want to go near that. I don't want to go near that. The only way to counter that is with gun safety training, since the schools no longer offer that. I think it is appropriate for the older generation of gun-safe adults to make a point of trying to introduce the younger generation to what firearms really are and are not. They're not the hate death machines that you see in movies. That's all made up stuff. Guns are tools. Guns are there to help kick the critters out of your food crops, which may become more and more important as the economy slows down. They're there to chase burglars, other criminals out of your home, which I myself have had to do on one occasion. And if you handle them safely, there's no reason not to know how to use a gun. Better that you know how to use a gun than not. And I'll give you a good example of that. Let's say that little Johnny is walking along, near the woodlands near school, and he looks down and some idiot has dropped a firearm. Now, Johnny Liberal would pick it up and just fuddle around with it until the gun goes off, because he doesn't know how to handle guns. He just knows it's a bad thing, and he wants to rush and take it into the police department and say, ooh, bad gun, bad gun. But in the course of handling it, he sets it off. Now, Johnny Conservative, coming along, would see that same gun. He'd pick it up, he'd clear the gun, he'd know the gun was safe to handle before he took one step anywhere. That's the difference between a population that understands firearms and gun safety and a population that does not. Personally, I think everybody should receive a gun safety class. And again, in my day and age, we did. Schools taught gun safety. They got free rifles from the U.S. government, military surplus weapons. Everybody knew how to use a firearm. It was one of our points of pride as a nation, that Second Amendment. Now we have our government, which has grown deathly afraid of the American people, especially conservatives. They want to try and find some way they can take that Second Amendment away. They've chipped into it. Bans on high-capacity magazines. Virginia's going to wind up being a test case. Virginia's going to get taken to the Supreme Court. We'll see what happens there. But if the Virginia gun laws, as they are instituted now, are allowed to stand, you can kiss that Second Amendment goodbye. You really, really can. All right, we're going to take another break here for commercials. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443, and we will be right back.
It happens more often than we can imagine. In my case, I was sitting at home, and out of nowhere, I just started feeling uncomfortable. Then it got worse, and I started perspiring. I tried to ignore it, but I waited too long. The chest pain came as we were driving to the hospital emergency. I felt my life clock begin to tick. I barely survived. There was lots of damage done to my heart. What do I do now? I was lucky. I took a leap of faith and tried a 7-herb formula with hawthorn, garlic, cayenne, and more called Extendivite. Herbs have been used for thousands of years to keep us healthy. If you're not using Extendivite as a preventative supplement, maybe it's time to start. To order, call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. We're talking about the gun grabbers are at it again. It's an election year. We've got to demonize the guns. Guns are bad. You know, police with pepper spray and truncheons, those are good. Law-abiding citizens with guns, that's bad. And apparently there's been already a hoax perpetrated by this anti-gun trauma surgeon who posted a photo of a death threat left on the windshield of his car. But friends and neighbors quickly pointed out the car was parked in his garage, which has a closing garage door. And so, yeah, let's cook up a new scandal here. It's been way too long since we had something to really scream about and cry about in the newspapers. Getting on back down to Virginia, I don't know what's gone wrong with those people down there, but Virginia used to be considered one of the states that wanted to go its own way. But Virginia Democrats are now proposing banning all criticism of all government officials. Now, that, of course, flies right in the face of the First Amendment, which exists to give us a right to criticize what our government is doing without fear of repercussion. And so the Virginia Democrats are out there saying, First Amendment, Schmirst Amendment, if you say anything bad about any of our government officials, most of whom work for Israel anyway, we're going to throw you in prison. We're going to criminalize everything. And these are hard left Democrats, and they're so terrified of the Commonwealth's conservatives, moderates, and even some liberals, the more saner liberals. They want to criminalize criticism of anti-gun, pro-infanticide Governor Ralph Northam and other top officials. And this proposal to stamp out free speech is buried in a package of amendments to the state code that at first glance seemed innocent enough and would severely punish threats of death and physical harm to the governor and, again, other state officials. Now, I don't have a problem with taking action in the face of threats of actual physical harm or death to our leaders, or celebrities for that matter. Not that celebrities matter that much. But what they're talking about here is simple criticism, saying, I disagree with you. I think you're going in a bad direction. And that's what that First Amendment is there to protect. Now, back during the run-up to the American Revolution, hangings with effigy and so forth were kind of accepted forms of protest. And nobody got really exceptionally upset because, oh my goodness, you've crossed a line from criticizing the British governor to hanging him from, as a dummy from a tree, or tarring and feathering the effigy. It's all considered a continuum. Today, it's like, you have to be very polite and very nice and not offend when you try and tell the government they're not listening to the American people. And here we have a law saying, well, there's only so much you can do before you have to just shut up and sit down. I disagree with that. I really don't. Now, getting on over to Julian Assange, apparently the U.S. government is trying to make the case that the reason they can go after Julian Assange for WikiLeaks is because he's a foreign national, and that they're trying to make the argument that the First Amendment doesn't apply to foreigners living in the United States of America. Now, I think that is utterly ridiculous. And I understand that there's a big, big debate over illegal immigrants who come to this country and then claim that they have rights under the Constitution to do thus and such. In some cases they do, in some cases they don't. But I think the right to freedom of speech and expression is a universal and should be treated as such. But again, it's another attack on the First Amendment saying it doesn't apply to foreigners. Well, what other exceptions will they eventually carve into that? Doesn't apply to conservatives, doesn't apply to people who've been convicted of traffic tickets, doesn't apply to people who can't hit the downbeat on a dance step. It's the beginning of the erosion of freedom of speech in this country. We're turning into the former Soviet Union. We're turning into the former Nazi Germany. We're being driven that way by a government that has gotten itself in severe economic and military trouble. They've got a population that is very, very concerned about what's going on. People who are in that government, they love the way things are because it's making them wealthy, powerful. They think they're admired. They aren't, but they think they're admired. And that's why they're trying to take away all the civil liberties that were so hard fought and won during the first American Revolution. The right to speak your mind without fear of reprisal, the right to privacy in your affairs in your home, your right to keep and bear arms. Okay. All right, we're coming up here on another commercial break. We've got a phone call waiting on the line that we'll get to as soon as we come back from these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed a newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, the majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper doesn't give out the important attention of what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
How would you like to earn an extra $10,000 or more a month from the comfort of your home? We show you how to win with a home-based business opportunity. This could be one of the best financial decisions you ever make. Work from home, full-time or part-time. Plus, you'll never have to talk to anyone. Our professional sales team closes all your sales for you, and you keep 70% of all the sales made. You could be earning money while you're sleeping, shopping, working out, wherever you are, day or night. Our system goes to work for you. You can make a great income without any special computer skills or sales training. Plus, you get paid fast, within just 24 to 48 hours after our professional sales team closes a sale for you. Let us help you eliminate your financial concerns. You could be earning enough money to pay off debt, buy a house, a car, or whatever the case may be. We've got you covered. If you'd like to add an extra $10,000 or more a month to your portfolio, and you would like to know exactly what we're doing and how we're doing it, go now to www.getstartedwithus.com. That's www.getstartedwithus.com. Again, that's www.getstartedwithus.com.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right to the phone to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome back to the show. What's on your mind?
Mike, almost a new show was going to be called What Really Happened to Mike Rivera. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be back. Although I'm not all the way back, but I'm definitely getting there.
How's Claire doing?
Claire is holding up, as best as she can, and she's just been an absolute angel, kind of picking up the slack for things that I have been unable to do, and just keeping our household put together. And every night I FaceTime her right from my little room here at the PT clinic, and but we're hoping that within 1 week, probably 2, I'll be back home and able to annoy her in person.
When you get everything set up back home, is she going to be coming back on the air on Fridays with you?
Yes, she is.
Okay, that's good. Okay, on with my questions. Okay, Mike, did you talk about, I want to know what your feelings and the feelings of some of your listeners are with what Trump did by killing the Iranian general Soleimani. I think, like, I said I was over with Trump before that, but I mean, this guy fought ISIS. You know, he was in the Iran-Iraq war, and like you said, Mike, at the beginning of the show, what's changed? You come back, they're still doing an impeachment fraud, and the people are still flying over the border. Nobody's stopping the people over the border. The wars are continuing, and they're still pumping money into the repo market. You know, so like what's changed? And you know what makes me so peed off? You got Trump, who put in John Bolton. We all knew who John Bolton was. And then, you know, he's getting a lot of money, not only for working for the government, but probably a lot of kickbacks and stuff. And then he basically backstabs Trump. He writes his new book. He makes more money, and we're left with, like I said, no infrastructure bill. The country's infrastructure's rotting away. These people are making tens of millions of dollars, and we got nothing to show for it. Just the same old, it's a clown show, you know? I mean, I don't get it. Like,
I agree. I absolutely agree.
You know? But I mean, why do you think Trump did this attack on Soleimani? Like, what do you gain by doing that? If you want to stop the wars, what's the gain for this? There's no, for me, I don't
Clearly,
see no
he
gain.
did not want to stop the war. I mean, clearly the agenda is to get a war with Iran going and to try and provoke them into making the first overt act that can be seized on as saying, see, Iran has attacked us. It's got nothing to do with all the stuff we've been doing to Iran since 53 rather. It's just Iran has just attacked us for no reason because they hate freedom, and we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And so we've seen not just this one case, but there have been provocations over the last several years where the United States is sort of pecking at Iran, trying to get them to peck back.
Well, we do know one thing, though, that their missiles do work. Yeah, they're ballistic missiles, right?
Yes.
Did you see that? I don't know if you saw. There's like a satellite photo release. They hit what they needed to hit. They actually told us what they were going to basically hit, right? That's why all the troops went. Which I don't understand how some troops can be. Maybe some of the troops were injured from the sound of the explosions, with traumatic, But you would think they'd have bunkers that are deep enough where, I don't know. I was never in that situation where like a ballistic missile's landing in my vicinity. But hey, Mike, not only are they picking on Iran though, but Guaido just visited with Mike Pompeo, didn't he? So they're pecking still at Venezuela also. And Mike, did you see?
Yeah, that's still going.
Did you hear? Did you see actually the picture of Lindsey Graham shaking the hand of Adam Schiff, and somebody overheard him saying, "That was a great speech. It was very eloquent." So Lindsey Graham, like I said, I didn't like him or John McCain. They're all part of the same establishment. It's a big show.
Yes.
They all go to dinner with each other at the end of the night, right? Or they go to the gentleman's club.
Yes.
In Washington, D.C. So, but why? I mean, and the same with Rudy Giuliani. I never liked Giuliani because if you look back, it goes back to where he lobbied with the State Department to get the MEK off the terror watch list when Obama was. So this is all this close-knit group of people. There is nobody in, Mike, I look at it this way, at this point, there's like probably, I can't even count them on one hand, that amount of people that are for the American people in Washington, D.C. anymore. They're not in Virginia, that's for sure.
I absolutely agree with you. And of course, I've had, little regard for Giuliani ever since 9/11 and that whole, supposed confusion over who told him that Building 7 was going to collapse.
It's just sad how just things are continuing, the way they are, and nothing. Like I said, and I don't know if Tom from Florida called in yet, because I like to hear from him, or Joe from Tennessee, or Peter from Los Angeles, or Mark from North Carolina. But I mean, I got to say this. You bring all of us together. You know how much it sucked what you not being on the air for this amount of time.
Yes,
and it's scary.
I have
Mike, it's scary.
I have a huge folder of emails saying, please come back. We miss having somebody to scream at every day.
But Mike, but without you, there's no voice for us to get out that bring us together. And that's how scary it is, because without you, where else do we go, really? And RBN, basically, like that. That's like there's just nothing. It ain't going to be on CBS,
yes.
That's for sure. So I'm glad you're back. I know you're not fully there yet, but it's. And Mike, I like this where you have the phone number on the top. I think you should leave that on, even on when you have a video call, because maybe we can get more people calling in when the number's actually always there. So I like that, having the call,
okay.
800-313-9443. And that's all I have to say, and I hope everybody calls back in. Come on, where is everybody? Have a good night.
Well, there's actually the phone lines. The phone lines have loaded up while you've been on the line. And so thank you, Dustin. We're going to switch over to Brian in Canada. Aloha, Brian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Welcome back, Michael Rivero. I almost thought we were going to change the name of your show to What Really Happened to Michael Rivero.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying the same thing. And there was at one point where I seriously thought I have to quit the show. I can't, but then the doctors figured out what was wrong with me, and they've started treating me. And, I'm definitely feeling a lot better. I'm not where I'd like to be just yet. And of course, on top of that is the fact I am 67 years old. And, along with this neurological thing, is the fact that I'm getting age-related slowdown.
Well, Mike, I'm 59, so I'm not far behind you. But the thing is, like I said, during your absence, there was a lot of fear that you might have been knocked off the air, because look what happened with Mike Adams over at the Natural News site when they turned around and tried to destroy his site because he was posting up material fighting back against vaccines and that. And we also lost several other alternative news sites, including Dutch Hints, and several others disappeared. So everybody had thought that you had gone the same way as them. But like I said, it's great to have you back. But go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got a lot of emails just sort of pointing at the odd coincidence that I came down this ill just before the Senate impeachment trial really got underway. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, as it turns out, this has been a growing situation since last summer. And it really did interfere with our move out here from Hawaii. And just about a month ago, it just really hit. But anyway,
the other thing I wanted to cover quickly. The only other thing I want to cover quickly, Mike, I wanted your views on what's been happening with this coronavirus scare, because I look at it as nothing but mass hysteria along the same line as the H1N1 scare, and they're doing it purposely, especially through the controlled media, to basically scare the crap out of people. I mean, Mike, for example, up here in Canada, they can't go by now where I'm talking to people and they're all talking about the same thing. Oh, Brian, what do you think about the H1 the coronavirus? What do you think is going to happen? And I tell people it's just fear mongering as being generated, fueled by the controlled media that for some reason wants to scare people to death, and then people line up like dumb. Don't use the term dumb sheep to turn around and have their arms rolled up to take whatever vaccine they come up with. It's a sad state of affairs, Mike.
It really, really is. And as I pointed out back in 2009, they were doing this with this flu pandemic, and they had articles in the National Geographic about how, 2/3 of the world population would get wiped out. And it was used to basically stampede people into buying vaccines and stockpiles of vaccines that they wound up never ultimately using. And as a matter of fact, we're already getting contradictory information about the Wuhan virus. One article saying that it's under quarantine, the railways and airports are targeted, people are fleeing by road. Then you have these other stories saying that no, according to Flight Tracker, air traffic in and out of Wuhan is normal. So there's all of that situation going on. And there was even one article that came out saying that Wuhan had gotten this biological weapon from Canada. And this was a test deployment. And that, of course, that turned out to be false.
Absolutely. But anyway, Mike, like I said, it's good to have you back. I know you have lots of other callers. Like I said, welcome back, my friend. It's nice to have you back on the air because exactly like your previous caller said, we need a voice of logic and reason in the sick world we live in, and you're one of them. So keep up the fight, my friend, and nice to hear from you. And good luck.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. Let's switch over to Tony in Topeka. Aloha, Tony. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. How you doing? Nui Nui.
Nui Nui.
Hey, did you see how Iran said that not only did they not shoot down the missiles, like that their missiles were hacked by like Israel, but they were able to hack into like their systems? Like the ones that were that rained down on the first attack.
No, I didn't see that one.
You there, Mike? How the missiles
I'm here,
were hacked.
and
Like that's what Iran said.
Okay, all right. I see what you're saying. I didn't have the context. You're talking about what happened back on the 8th.
Yeah, a little while back, when we ran in the new year with the, it was going to be like World War III, remember, under Trump?
Yes.
With the Iran base, the embassy. You see how they sent some rockets to the embassy today, too, right?
Well, again, I haven't seen the article where Iran is making the claim that Israel had anything to do with the attack. And I'd like to see that before I make a comment one way.
They're trying to say that it's Iran. They're trying to say that it's Iran that attacked. They attacked our embassy again today. That's what they're trying to say. And there was like a couple casualties.
Okay.
Did you see with that Trump met with Benjamin Netanyahu in the White House today?
Yes.
They were like talking about like migration and stuff. It was pretty interesting. It was on their website, the whitehouse.gov and stuff.
Okay, well, thank you for the information. I'll take a look into it. I still didn't see who was supposed to be hacking who, but let's see.
Well, did you see
you
when
had
on
mentioned
the first,
something?
No, nobody was hacking who. That was the whole question. Nobody knows who is. But that's what Iran claimed, that their missile systems were hacked. That's what they said. And then if you talk about like the whole reason they said the first missile strike on the 8th, I believe, right? They said that it was like an American contractor that was killed. But it wasn't an American contractor. It was like an Iraqi, like, national or whatever. He was like counterintelligence. Supposedly, like, he got killed. Something like that, right? Did you hear about any of that?
Well, listen, Tony, I'll have to look into it. I'm still getting caught up from the last couple of weeks here. Tony, we're going to let you go and switch over to Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, welcome back, Mike. Glad to see you back. Well, to answer one of the questions, at least my comment to one of the questions about the coronavirus here, I think the coronavirus and the Kobe Bryant story are going to be great diversion stories for the entire week. Take the heat off of Donald Trump.
Yes.
Actually, it's going to probably aid the Democrats. But this coronavirus, if it were a serious, deadly pandemic or a worry of that, I would assume, it makes common sense, that the United States government would stop all incoming flights from China. They would never let these people deplane. They would refuel the aircraft and send it back on its way to China. And that's how I know it's a scam. It's a fraud. It's just a little bit of fear propaganda there. And who knows what's in the works here? Maybe that the pharmaceutical is going to run out with some kind of vaccine or something for a cure or patch all. But I'm not buying it one bit.
Sure.
I'm not buying it at all. A question for you. I don't know if you caught it today. Did you catch when Donald Trump was talking? It was a live broadcast with Donald Trump sitting down in the White House with Benjamin Netanyahu talking about tomorrow they're going to be unveiling some new program for Palestine. I assume they're going to give them a little chunk of land and probably take it back later on anyway. But Netanyahu said that Donald Trump is the greatest president that Israel has ever known. It just sickens me what's happening in that area there. And I theorize in the next 5 years, maybe 10 years maximum, Palestine will be gone. There will be nothing left of Palestine. They'll be absorbed by other countries, but there will be no country to call Palestine in the next 5 years to 10 years max. What's your comment on that one?
I do agree. It does seem inevitable at this point. I, too, am sickened by this idea of Israel coming on out and saying, which American president was best for Israel, because America's presidents aren't supposed to be good for Israel. They're supposed to be good for the United States of America and the American people. Now, what they're rolling out tomorrow is apparently what they were calling the deal of the century, but they stopped using that phrase because it's acquired such a negative cash. Anyway, Steve, got to take a break for commercials. Back with more phone calls after these few words.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right. All the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're going to go back to the phones to Keith Rogers. Aloha, Keith. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, welcome back, Mike. I had several things here. You know, it's a shame that everything is being used as a distraction, like this farce impeachment stuff. You know, Americans should be demanding questions about the illegal overthrow of the Ukraine government instead of this dithering back and forth about what information was exchanged. And I think even you yourself brought out the fact that the United States has this cybersecurity. So Trump was right in selecting that to see if Biden had any back doors into there, which everyone knows he did, as well as quite a few other Democrats. But this is no different there with the Ukraine news today, where they're demanding that Russia pay for the illegal occupation of Ukraine. And then, of course, we're back to the same scenario where it seems like everyone is being farmed out, like Trump already saying that over $1 billion is in the bank for U.S. troops to be in Saudi Arabia, which actually then makes them a paramilitary force. They're not out there protecting this country. They're not doing it for our national security or anything like that. They're just like the CIA.
They're mercenaries.
Squads of, mercenaries, you know. And now, as you mentioned there with that plane shot down, which has been confirmed. But the fact is the war machine goes on, and like Trump's Space Force with the so-called Starfleet. I mean, this is where, if you remember the Presidio, this is where Nancy Pelosi had sold the Presidio to Gorbachev while he still had a main base over in Moscow. But what gets me about this is Trump brags about pumping $2 trillion into the military when boasting to Iran about how, you know, the U.S. would do a deadly strike on them, hitting cultural centers and everything like that. But what gets me out of that entire thing is there are over 1,200 dams that need repaired. Levees, we're coming into spring thaw now, levees along the Mississippi, Missouri that need to be repaired. There's countless 55,000 bridges that need repaired. Americans pay billions of dollars in repairs to their vehicles because of our roads here, and they're not doing anything. Yes. Just like this sham with this bullcrap in D.C. about the impeachment. What we have seen there is 3 years or 3+ years now of the elected officials doing nothing for this country. Absolutely nothing.
You're absolutely right.
Oh, sham.
They're doing it all for the war machine, the military-industrial complex, the Israel complex, if you will, the medical-industrial complex. It's everybody's voting their wallet, and it really is a sham. And this country was started with safeguards against that kind of corruption, and they've all been whittled away along with our constitutional rights. And this is certainly not the nation that was intended by the founding fathers, or at least that's what we're taught in school. Maybe it's always been this corrupt, but we didn't see it until the age of the internet.
Yeah. All okay, right, well, anyway, thanks, Mike, and best to you.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to take a break here and back with Hour 3 after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We have some callers on the line I'm going to get to in just a minute. But again, a reminder for those of you watching on YouTube, the reason you're seeing a static green card rather than a live feed of my face, which you've already seen so many times before, is the location from which I'm sending the signal does not have the bandwidth to support the video. Now, hopefully when I get back into my own home sometime in the next week or two, that'll all go away and we'll be back to normal, and Claire will be joining us on Fridays. Back to the phones here. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. First of all, I just want to make, I'm afraid you're okay now, you know? We're really worried about you. So, did they find out what was wrong with you?
Yeah, they finally did about 2 weeks ago. They took this weird blood test with all these little spiky things on the output, and they said, aha, those shouldn't be there. And that's what finally nailed it in. And I do seem to be getting better. I'm not all the way better just yet. I still can't, navigate my home. And that's why I'm in this physical therapy place.
Okay. Hopefully, everything will be back to normal in, short time.
They're saying 2 weeks. They're saying 2 weeks.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Anyway, talk about diseases and all that. This coronavirus? I don't know. I got feelings about it. This looks serious. I see some of these films online about the what's going on in China. If this really spreads to the United States or anywhere else, this could be like the 1918 flu or something. Listen, I just want to say, today I wasn't even I was on my way to the gym, and I was listening to something. I was actually listening to Alex Jones on my way, right? And
yeah,
you know what happened? I decided to turn around and drive to this store called Hopi's in my area here. It's got a lot of good organic foods, a lot of dry foods and all that for very cheap prices, comparatively. And I got $118 worth of dried foods and organic, mostly organic, and a lot of probiotic type foods, good yogurts and kefirs and all that. More vitamins, and I'm gonna hunker down. I mean, if it really comes down this way, I'm prepared. You know what I mean? And I suggest everybody do the same thing. Now, that $118 I spent would probably go for $400 or $500 at Whole Foods or something like that. Even Trader Joe's probably over $300, and you couldn't even gotten it. So I wish all areas around the country had stores like this, because it's very important. People, you got to take care of yourself now. This is the thing. Got to be prepared too, because may come a time we can't even go outside. I just hope everybody's ready. As far as the international scene goes, I don't know if I've talked to you before about what happened with General Soleimani. That was a shame.
Yeah.
That was cold-blooded murder. I mean, Trump, I would say Trump is stupid because he's got people like Bolton work for. But this now this is an act of evil. This is a cold-blooded murder of a foreign leader and a great general, by the way, a mastermind of a general.
the way he defeated ISIS, Al Qaeda.
Yes.
But then again, that's one of the problems, I guess. The deep state doesn't like the fact that he defeated these people, you know. So, but I'm telling you, this is unforgivable. You know, I cannot vote for this man. I just can't. I'm just hoping that somehow Tulsi pulls out. I'd probably vote for Bernie Sanders if he takes Tulsi as his vice president. Other than that, I just either won't vote or I'm going to vote for third party, some kind of a third party. I'd love to see Cynthia McKinney maybe run together with Jesse Ventura in a third party. I'd say they might even have a shot if they did that. But other than that, you know, Mike, it's really bad news. Anyway, welcome back. I'm glad to see you back, and I want to see you all better.
We're working on it. You know, it's going to take a while longer. Thanks to all the get well with and people have been sending in. I do like to first respond single email and well wish and so forth. It's not going to be possible this time, and to as many as I can, but I'm probably going to get to them all. It's a matter of resources and time and everything. Anyway, we're going to let you go and switch over to Alan, Illinois. Aloha, Alan, the show. What's on your mind?
Very much, sir. Based on a rant for a couple of seconds on the issue of watching, and I would under that major category, male bashing, happening to Boeing Airlines. Now, let me tell you a little about Boeing. I wish I could get a job with a company like Boeing for intelligent people. So when I heard about these two airplane crashes, I was reading up on them, and I noticed that there's no mention of the possibility of pilot error. Now, as the crash in Indonesia was the old one, the plane in question had some kind of maintenance problem. It was a decision made to let it fly when it shouldn't. Now, in average IQ, there are points, so they're 10 below us. I would say that for pilot, I think Boeing should use that defense. Now, let me tell you about the Ethiopian crash, which is more recent. Average IQ in Ethiopia is only so 30 IQ points below. Now, how on earth can there are super in planes here? Now, let me tell you how to extend male bashing. I believe that Mr. Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein, should not be convicted. He's a dirty old man. He's women. He should wear gloves to bed. But the accusing him of rape and stuff like that it's very, very strange, because in contrast, sexual infects and other homosexual AIDS, that adds a $1,000 a year burden on social welfare programs. So AIDS epidemic is cost for $100 billion, and it's not. In fact, they dropped in California for a while misdemeanor for one homosexual to another, and now it's not even a misdemeanor. So why are we after Harvey Weinstein? Why are we going after Boeing Airlines? It's white male bash, and I think white males, we have to get a little angry and try to figure out a way to bring it to a stop. Glad to listen to you and hear you back on the air. Do you want me to hang on and you want, or should I just hang up?
I have some comments. You can go ahead and hang. I think you're trying to mix apples and oranges when you talk about Harvey Weinstein and Boeing. First of all, with Harvey Weinstein, his behavior is very typical of what goes on in the upper echelons. You need to understand that in the past, the were solicited, touched, groped, whatever, were actively pursuing those that are key to success, stardom, or producers. What, of course, it's become fashionable to say, "Oh, I was abused," hashtag situation, and so, who, before had been saying, "Yeah, come on, they're out there now, touch me," anyway. So it's a matter. Boeing defensive, but Boeing has had a lot of problems lately with their aircraft. It has to do, as you point out, legacy engine of the company who have and Boeing with countries. They don't have how the airplane, and that's why you 37 engine forward on the fuel. You've got that high stable aircraft. The fact that systems regard sensor out for budgetary, that was the recipe. Then you have those 787, what is it? Civilian air, a lot of problems. I think it's that's stuff that's victim when we think other the beginning to society who did the bottom to grabbing, we saw that South Zimbabwe. It looks like and that scream whatever the what was generation will be allowed to treat it the way switch over now. What's on? It's a very, very, and again, it's not. It is a clinic. Appreciate the send them to thought that deficit located way.
Well, I can, but it's happened.
Sure.
But and that money, the juice the national nation was the number one. The Israel Congress and that professors what way we're going to that thing go on if to and Arizona the got the coming out
yeah.
You know ridiculous things of and he just the more
they have a pre-built last two idea say, oh, that's a reverse. At the very least, the class is sophisticated, and if you union pretty most people things and so forth. How hard to get and say, well, even if we need the big things, roads or whatever, just
today. And living in the park now. And being they call the fun one. And or being my wife people in
who was not have the part of choose life that by voice and everything, and there's so Their folks you are how can they how sense ask what public we can send it back if we ask you to budget public and what you or affordable come assure public and uniform network when and you know Bill's things that make sense. His on that
Oh, yeah.